I want to learn 5 skills from easy to absolutely insane. I already tried something like this last year and it went pretty bad. This year,
You can't do it.
it went way worse. Let's go back to the beginning. Level 5, cigar box juggling. You can do an insane amount of tricks with these things. I'm gonna focus on the basic one. Throwing the boxes in the air, rearranging them, and then catching them perfectly side by side. So I started trying. The first step was to throw the boxes, and the hardest part was keeping them horizontal, while swapping them side by side. But after a few minutes, I was already kinda doing that. The real challenge though was the third and last step of the trick, catching the boxes perfectly side by side. And not only I was not making it, but I was even hurting myself. But then I realized I was moving too aggressively. I needed to move my body upwards at the same time as I threw the boxes. And with that in mind, I actually got it. Yes! And guys, I wish I just stayed on level 5 forever, because I didn't know yet that level 100 would literally destroy me. Level 20, I'm gonna try to create a boomerang paper plane. A paper plane that comes back. The problem was, I knew this level was impossible if I didn't build the plane perfectly. Any mistake now would mean I would be totally wasting my time later. I'm sweating, literally. Here it is, impossible paper plane. Now we're just gonna see if it works. I thought I built the paper plane so perfectly that it just worked right away. But after a couple of quick fails, I tried aiming the plane upwards instead of down. And honestly, it kinda started to work a little bit. Ooh, that wasn't actually too bad. This was clearly progress. But I knew I needed more power. But then some old habits came back and I went too far. The last throw had completely destroyed the plane. And although that was bad news, I was determined to build a second plane that was even better. I'm gonna try to be as precise as possible this time. And spent so much time making sure every single fold was perfect. And right away I noticed it was actually working. The plane was starting to come back at me. Oh my god, that's super close. There was just one problem left. Alright, it's too small in here. We're gonna try to change environment. This should be wide enough. Let's try it. Immediately, I felt more freedom, and I noticed my throwing technique naturally starting to change. I was turning my hand on its side as I threw, which was making the plane turn even more. And after 2 extremely close attempts... No way. I moved. I finally got it. Level 40. The no-string yo-yo. Usually the string is attached to the yo-yo, so the yo-yo can't fall. But this guy is able to throw the yo-yo in the air and then catch it mid-air by throwing the string in the middle of it. That's literally insane. And we're gonna try it. So I removed the string from the yo-yo. Step 1 was throwing the yo-yo so it came off the string, but I was already struggling with that. I needed the yo-yo to fly upwards, but right now I was just dropping it. I'm destroying my yo-yo. Then I realized I was throwing the string across my body. So I tried throwing it away from me instead. And it actually started to work. But that was only half of the challenge. Catching it is gonna be on another level. You might be wondering how this is even possible. Basically, this yo-yo can spin as fast as 6,000 rotations per minute, which meant if I could aim the string right down the middle, the friction was gonna cause the string to wrap around the yo-yo again. So with this technique in mind and focusing on throwing the string away from my body, I tried to catch it. And despite a couple of fails, I actually got it. But the final step was returning the yo-yo to my hand, and that was by far the hardest part. Come on! Even though I was catching the yo-yo consistently with the string, the yo-yo would always fall to the ground. Then I realized I was making a huge mistake. Every time I caught the yo-yo, I moved my hand away from it. It was like I was trying to lift the yo-yo up, but my movement was destroying the momentum. So this time, I was gonna move my hand towards the yo-yo. And with that in mind, I got it! Yes! 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 I was ready for level 50, bottle flip challenge. Not the usual one though. The one I'm talking about is exponentially harder. The challenge consists in landing one bottle flip and then landing the second bottle on top of the first one. I have no idea what I'm getting into, but we're gonna get it. I started trying and honestly, I was already doing better than expected. I was nailing the first bottle flip and consistently hitting the bottle cap with the second one. And not only that, I also felt that the more I tried, the closer I was getting. But after about 100 attempts, I still couldn't get it. And not only this started to feel like a mental torture, I actually had a big problem.
This bottle is absolutely gone.
And considering I had an even harder skill to tackle next, I decided to come back to this later with a new bottle. And in the meantime, move on to level 75.
The boxing coin challenge. The trick consists in throwing a few coins mid-air and then catching it before they hit the ground.
I was gonna start with 2 coins and move up to 3 and then 4.
Let's start with 2.
I was hoping this was gonna be easier than the bottle flip. And despite a bad first attempt,
let me try again.
I actually got 2 pretty fast. So it was time to try with 3 coins. But after a few attempts, I was really struggling. But if I didn't learn how to get 3 coins, how could I expect to get 4, let alone trying the insane level 100 skill? But when something like this happened in the past, the problem was always my technique, and I realized something.
I was basically throwing my hand forward,
but I needed to move it downward if I wanted to catch the coins. Straight away, I was getting closer.
Ooh, come on!
And on my next try, moving my hand downwards, I got it.
Yes! Yes! That was extremely hard, but it's still not enough. And now we're gonna try with 4 coins.
I thought I had the technique down, but the idea of catching 4 coins was making me forget how to even catch 2, which meant it was a problem with my mind, not my body. So I changed the plan. Instead of keep trying over and over and simply getting more frustrated, I focused on only the technique for a while. And while I was preparing to try again, I realized something that could be the key to beating this level.
So I was trying with really big coins, 2 euros basically. And now I'm gonna try with 10 cents.
And right away, I got this close. And then, after another 10 minutes,
yes!
I finally got it.
Yes! You see what happens if you don't give up? You're gonna get it.
But before I was ready for the insane level 100, I had to go back and complete the bottle flip. I'd spent hours the day before trying to get it, and I knew it was a matter of technique and patience. And so, with the ghost of my old bottle watching over me, I tried again. I even landed 2 in a row right next to the bottle. I was so close.
Come on!
I was failing, but also getting closer and closer at the same time. And since giving up was never an option, getting it was the only possible outcome.
Yes! Yes! Yes, go!
It was time to move to level 100. And when I started this one, I truly had no idea how challenging and stressful this was gonna be. The pool trick shot, a skill that is supposedly only possible for professional pool players. The idea was simple. All I had to do was to pot the red ball with the white ball. The problem? The line of balls was completely in the way. That meant the only way to do it was to make the white ball travel backwards using spin. So I started trying, but I quickly learned I had no idea what I was doing. I was not making the ball spin at all, and I couldn't figure out why. So I decided to add chalk to the cue every single time. My theory was that this would create more friction with the ball, and therefore make it spin more. And it started working. Even though the ball was spinning too late or too early, at least now it was spinning. As well as using the chalk, I learned that I needed to hit the ball basically on top of it and slightly on the side to make it spin perfectly. And with these techniques, I got super close. But there was a problem. My arm was getting exhausted and the pool club was closing. But with my really close attempts, I was feeling good about day 2. Today's tomorrow, and before we left yesterday, a guy at the place told me something extremely important. After 3 hours of practice and fails, he said, "Do you know that the pros are using a special stick and not the one you're using?" Nope, I didn't know that. So the problem is that I have no access to that stick, and I know it's gonna be just 10 times harder to do that trick with a normal stick. But I have no intention of giving up. We're gonna get it, no matter what. And so I started again. I was still getting the ball to spin, but knowing I was probably using the wrong type of cue was making me nervous. But then I had an idea. Testing out literally every single stick they have. This one has a larger tip, so I'm gonna try with this one now. With that new cue, I got super close. This was insane progress. But then there was another big problem. I can't. They just kicked me out. And I mean, they're actually right, because I was making noise and damaging the table. The problem is that right now I have no freaking idea how to do it, guys. I have no idea. The guy even told me that he saw what I was trying to do and that I should literally just give up because it was impossible. Then I checked Google and I found a pool academy. So I gave them a call. Maybe they can teach me. To be honest, I was starting to get a bit desperate. Hi, do you know what's a trick shot?
A trick shot, yes.
Yeah, I wanna try to learn
a trick shot.
And you have a pool table at home?
No.
Where do you usually play?
I never play. That's the thing.
Well, you can't do it. To make a curveball, you have to have the skills.
I am not programmed to have that mentality of saying you can't do that. Why can't I?
I knew I couldn't practice in a pool place because they would probably kick me out. But something the man said gave me an idea.
Officially got a pool table.
It is extremely small, like the cue is longer than the table. We get a super small balls too. But we don't care. We are gonna get it. 3 days of practice went by. 3 days trying over and over and over again. Making little adjustments, but basically repeating the same exact movement hundreds of times. And being on the smaller table felt like a step back. I was struggling to make the ball spin. And I also felt the table getting more and more broken at each attempt.
I am not gonna give up though. I am not gonna give up.
But on day 4, something changed. After all these attempts, I was getting used to the table, and I finally made it spin.
It comes back. It comes back.
All my hope came rushing back, and I started to believe I could get it. I had to keep swapping sides so the table wouldn't break, but I was spinning it consistently. I couldn't care if the table was breaking. The balls were too small, and the cue was the wrong one. I was on a mission, and on day 5, I was actually getting close. I wanted to do this, and I wanted to do it for you guys. I just kept thinking about all the people that told me this wasn't possible, but seeing how close I was getting made me believe even more. Because the most important thing in the world for me is proving you can do anything. Believe in this idea, because I promise you, if you don't quit, eventually you're simply gonna get it.
Yes! Yes! Go!